Hello, everyone. This is author Tim Brown of the book Uncommon Athletes and Boys Won't Be Boys. And I'm excited as we continue our series on uncommon athletes to have with me our brother Brandon Mcintosh. Brandon is also an author as well. He's written an excellent book entitled Take a Deep Breath and Focus, 10 Ways to Be Relentless. And he has a great story about being relentless. You can see in the background, that's a young Brandon behind you with his Xavier Musketeers uniform, number 20. Boy, you look good back in the day.
Man, that was 20 years ago.
Is that 20 years
and a
ago?
whole lot of pounds ago.
Yeah, and yeah, I see that, and now I know that you've gone into that next phase in your life. You know, the pastor and the teaching, the motivational speaking, and the author tag is on you now. Tell me a little bit about. I was reading your bio, and it talked about writing the book. The book came to you in a dream.
There was a dream that I was having. I share very transparently that it was not a dream that I was having night after night, but I had the dream enough where I always would remember, like, man, I had that dream again. And so, it got to a place, this is over a span of years, having this dream once I left college and playing basketball. I remember this dream, and I started to really ask myself some tough questions. And, because I was finding myself being frustrated when I wake up out of the dream and really feeling some type of way because of the contents of the dream. And so I really just started to, talk with God and pray and just really begin a search for really why I was having a dream. And once I really identified why I was having a dream over and over again, and it just really evolved into me writing some things down, into me becoming a father, and then into how do I parent my child? How do I father my child at each stage of his life, and at every stage of his life, have wisdom at that stage to father him, to guide him. And so I just started writing stuff down, and really more so what you have in Take a Deep Breath and Focus, 10 Ways to Be Relentless, is really more so a manual that I allow the reader to kind of capture a conversation between my son and I, who is 8 right now, but a conversation that we have throughout the course of his development as a young man.
That's good. I was also reading about how you had a turning point in your life as well when you were challenged to whether you continue playing basketball.
Absolutely.
Or were you just going to give up? Can you tell us about that experience? I think it was an academic challenge or something.
Yeah, there was an academic challenge. The story I tell in the book, it was that I graduated from high school with a 1.6 grade point average. And so because God blessed me to be able to play basketball, that Xavier University and some other schools were willing to take an opportunity, take a chance on me. I don't know if they still do Proposition 48. You may know better than me. I'm not sure if that's something
they got a sliding scale now. It's a little different.
Yeah. But back then it was Proposition 48, which said that you academically don't qualify, but if you're able to pay for your first year education, prove yourself as a student athlete, the next year, if you prove yourself as a student athlete, you can be awarded a scholarship. So, the first time I ever being relentless was that day. And this is what I talk about in the book, of being in coach, the late, great Skip Prosser, who was the Wake Forest coach, who went on to coach Josh Howard and Chris Paul down there at Wake Forest with the rest of those, their coaching staff. But in his office at Xavier University on Victory Parkway, down there in the old O'Connor Sports Center, that's where his office was before Mcintosh was built. Yeah. My mother and my father and I sat in his office, and he just really laid it out on the line. He really gave it really truth of his expectations. He talked about how hard it was going to be for me. I was not going to be able to play that first year. Was not going to be able to travel that first year. I was on the team, but I really necessarily wasn't on the team that first year. So it was really, the ball was really on my court. And in that room with my parents, with Coach Prosser, that was the first time I ever met relentless. And I told him that I was willing to accept the challenge and accepted all the responsibility that got me to that place. And I don't want to rush the interview, but that's really the crucial piece of this project, is that if you're going to be relentless in anything, whether you're a student athlete, whether you're a business owner, whoever you are, these are some principles that are transferable, that the first thing that you must do is tell yourself truth, even to move forward. So there is almost a mirror type of experience you have to have in any type of progressive upward movement.
Mhm. So what was what was that? What was the things you did differently that got you through that?
Well, number one, I started telling myself the truth.
Hmm.
I stopped blaming I stopped blaming anything. No excuses. I talk about that also in the book. Excuses is a lazy way to live your life,
Hmm.
because what excuses do is that it stifles your ability to make adjustments.
Hmm.
So what I had to do is I had to start telling myself the truth, and then I just had to start getting stuff done. No matter what was going on, I had to get it done. No excuses, whether it was a paper, whether it was studying for a test, whether it was, you know, we were on the road and came back off the road late and I didn't get a chance to get this paper done. Hey, I got to be up, and so that mentality of not accepting of accepting responsibility really was really the groundwork to being relentless, because it's always going to be mind over matter.
Right.
The more you tell yourself you can, the more you will. And the more you tell yourself you can't, you won't. So it really was a change in that for me. One of the other things that I really work to explore in the book, I talk about how I never really understood a timeout until I really start looking at being relentless, because I understood a timeout as, coach takes a 30 or a full and he pulls the team in and you get water, right? You get a towel, you sit down on the bench. And I really thought that's what a timeout was until I really start looking at the game of basketball and the game of life, where you got your good coaches, Tim, where they down five, call a full timeout, right? In that 60 seconds,
Hmm.
a coach can actually capitalize on 60 seconds where the band is playing. It's loud, emotions, people are sweating, tired, fatigued. A coach can make an adjustment, and there it is. That's the beauty of a timeout, is your ability to make adjustment. Now, for the last, I think, 6 or 7 months, the whole world has really been on a timeout,
Yeah.
and so your ability to end the timeout really make some adjustments. Now is the time to make some adjustments of your life, of your thinking, to really be all that you've been created to do. I fully believe everyone was created to be great.
Mm.
That's my conviction. Everyone was created. It's everyone's divine birthright to dream and reach beyond where they are. That's my conviction. I believe that. And so this is what this project really takes on. That's what I had to do at Xavier. Um, and that's what I really encourage the reader to do.
Yeah, that's good stuff there. As I wrote the book, I also one of the chapters about making that adjustment.
Hmm.
We all come to that point in our lives,
Absolutely.
And in sports, you come to a game and the coach has a plan, and the plan's not working. you know, and
Adjust.
sometimes in life, we come to that crossroad. I think sometimes high school athletes, they kind of slide through high school or whatnot, just
Hmm.
barely getting by. But then you get to college, it's a whole different ball game. You have
Absolutely.
to adjust. You got to make that adjustment.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you made that adjustment. In the book, you also talk about, or one of the reasons I believe you wrote the book was with athletes who want to go back to their glory days.
Yeah.
Maybe thinking that they may have missed something.
Yeah.
And they're trying to relive that.
You and I both know that there are a lot of men right now
Mm-hmm.
in their 40s that are still struggling with some regret,
Yeah.
and still struggling with some questions, and you talk with them, and it's what the coach maybe at that time did or didn't do, or what was going on in your surroundings. There are a lot of men that really struggle with that, because what you have going on is a certain level of expectations that one had. I had these expectations to, maybe go to this Division I school, or to go pro, or this, that, and the other. So you have these expectations, you know, expectations without a strategy on how to actually what that should look like every day is gonna meet frustration every single time. So, really just working it. And if you don't process that as a man now that goes into the way I'm a father, the way I father my children, the way I love on my wife, the way I love on my community, the way I lead. So all these things really must be filtered through the process of purpose, and be challenged. I talked about in the someone was asking me a question, and I told him, I said, I just refuse to be that guy.
Mhm.
I refuse. I want to. I would fight me. I refuse to be that guy. Full with bitterness. That's why the dream bothered me so much. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That's why it stuck out to me. And when I would wake up, I would be, my heart be beating. This is that and the other. I didn't like the way I felt. So I just really started to challenge that mind frame, challenge that whole thread of thought, and traced it down to where it came from. And that's what one has to do, and that's being relentless, chasing the thread of thought down. Why did I think that way? Or why was what about that made me frustrated?
Yeah.
And how can I change that, alter that to grow? Because that's what it's about. It's about becoming my best self, so challenging that, you know, is really where this project came out of.
Mhm. Yeah, I know in the book you break down that word relentless as an acronym, and I really like the R's for be real.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it has to start, as being
Yep,
real.
you
Can you
have
just
to.
expound on that just a little bit? I don't want to get a whole book away, but can you talk about being real?
Um, you know, truth is something else. Truth is something else. It's my conviction that the truth shall set you free. But what they don't tell you is that the truth will frighten you at first.
Hmm.
The truth will frighten you at first, and probably make you mad. You know, um, then it'll set you free. But you're gonna have to figure out. I'm having these little conversations with Kingston, my son now, and it's about it's okay for someone not to like you.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
conversation with him is, you know, the reality of it is everybody's not going to like you, and you have to be okay with that, and okay with that so much so that you can still treat them nice and this, that, and other without no expectations. Now, this is truth. This is just, and if you don't approach being real with yourself like that, and in other areas, you won't fully grow. That's what it's about. That's why we have to tell ourselves the truth, because it's about, if you don't, you begin to stifle. We all know people that make excuses, you know, and we're all subjected to make excuses, trying to figure out why this happened or why that happened, you know. But I believe that when you tell the truth, you take the power out of someone else's hands, you put it in your own. So now you know how to be able to move and change. That's what it's about. It's about change and development. You don't want nothing to block your fullness of growth. You know, I mean, coaches told me the truth, didn't want to listen. And how many people have had people working to tell them honest opinion, but you can't really grasp that because it's the way it's presented or what it makes you feel like. That can't be a real thing. Now, if you're serious about growing and really serious about growing, achieving, starting a business, graduating, whatever it may be, if you're serious, you'll be committed to telling yourself the truth and being real.
Well, that's good. That's really good. Could you, as we wrap up, could you issue a challenge to coaches? I have a lot of coaches who listen to this, and some
Oh, cool.
athletes
Awesome.
and parents as well. How would you challenge them on how to, take that deep breath when things aren't going your way,
Yeah.
to focus, and then figure it out and be relentless about chasing that dream?
I really, if you allow me to, I really do want to challenge him in a couple different ways, if
Mhm.
that's okay. First challenge is I want you to refuse from this day forward to let your feelings and emotions uh, cause you to respond from a place where you're not clearly thinking.
Mhm.
You have to refuse that, because the reason why I say we have to refuse that is because that's something that you're going to have to do every day. That temptation to want to react from how I feel, has gotten a lot of people in trouble. It has cut a lot of dreams short. It has caused a lot of people not to be able to fully pursue all that they were created to do, to see, and to be. So from this day, my challenge is for you as a coach, for you as a leader, for you as a parent, refuse to allow your emotions to run you to a place where you're not clearly focused and clearly thinking, not on the narrow view, but on the broad view in the grand scheme of things. For this is as leaders. Remember now, as leaders, we don't have the luxury not to see the big picture. This is the burden of leadership. The burden of leadership is that we do no longer have the luxury to see the small. We have to see the big picture because of the responsibility of leadership that is upon our lives to forecast and cast vision, to see the big picture. You know, we have that opportunity to plant that in those that we coach, that we parent, that we lead, all this other about.
With that, could you give us a link on how a person get in contact with you?
Okay, there is a link going right to Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go right to Amazon, that's good too. And you can type in my name, Brandon Mcintosh, BRANDON MCINTOSH, or you can type in the name of the book. If you want the link to go right to my author page on Amazon, that link is www.amazon.com/author/Team Relentless. There's a nice cute little picture there of me in a suit.
All
and
right.
it'll take you right to the ebook
All
take
right.
you right to the book.
Okay. All right, Brandon. Well, I appreciate your time. And I want to encourage
Thank you,
everyone
man.
to pick up a book. Take a deep breath and focus. 10 Ways to Be Relentless. Thanks
Thank
again,
you.
Brother
God
Brandon.
bless you. Thank you so much for what you're doing.